another edition of Live with the Naked Bigfoot. Before I start, yeah, before I start tonight, let me let you know a few things, a few disclaimers. If you have any kids in the room during the live stream, or if you're watching this another day, if you're watching the recording another day, there will be many naughty words that are spoken. So you may not want to have the children in the same room as you're watching this. Either that, or just when you hear me about to say the word, just mute it as quickly as possible. Also, that any views, ideas, suppositions, questions, inferences that are made by me or any future guests are mine and their opinion alone. Um, I am not here to challenge anybody's religious beliefs. I am not here to challenge your worldview. Um, I'm here to share my worldview and my beliefs, and and I'm not here to try to persuade or dissuade anyone. So keep that in mind. But if you feel strong enough about something that I've said that you disagree with, I'll be happy to have you on a live stream and we can debate it together. I do love a good debate. I'm, as everyone may know, I do enjoy running my mouth. Okay. Tonight's topic is something I've actually been wanting to talk about, you know, live for quite some time. And that is the power of belief. Now, I'm not talking about um, the belief of a church or the belief of a deity. I'm talking about, well, yes, it will involve some of that. You will hear a little bit about religious beliefs, as well as personal beliefs in regards to paranormal and supernatural and metaphysical activities and encounters. I believe that let's just start off by saying, um, it took me many, it took me decades to find my belief in something. Um, I believe in the supernatural. I believe in the paranormal. I believe in cryptids. I believe that there are higher spirits that are, can be construed as gods. I believe in fairies. I believe in a lot of supernatural critters that are out there. But I didn't believe in any of this stuff until I actually was able to encounter it. Because there's a difference between belief and faith. Faith is more nebulous than belief. Um, to me, I have faith in many things. Myself, um, the lower spiritual world, the spirit world, the next life, the afterlife. I have faith in all those things. I have faith in higher powers. But I have belief in everything else because I've actually physically encountered it with my own senses, my own eyes, my own nose, my own mouth, my own ears, my own hands, my own touch. Um, that is how I differentiate between the two. And I truly believe you can't have faith without belief, and you can't have belief without faith. The two go hand in hand as far as when it's concerned on a metaphysical plane of existence. We're talking about on a religious and a metaphysical plane, whether where your beliefs are considered mainstream, or they're considered old world, new world pagan, old world pagan. Um, the new gods versus the old gods, whatever you believe in. But don't let me stray too far, because I have a habit of doing that. If there's anybody who pops into the chat that have any questions or want to say anything, I will acknowledge you and I will try to answer your questions as we go along. Belief. Like I said, it took me multiple decades to begin to believe in anything. To believe in myself, to believe in the physical world, the metaphysical world, the paranormal world, and the supernatural world. Like I said, I did not believe in anything unless I could encounter it with my own senses, and something I could touch, taste, smell, see, hear. If I did not do that, then in my mind it didn't exist. Now that I look back on those moments in my life, um, I feel I was rather naive in that notion. But as I talk, I'll explain to you why I believe that. Before we get more into belief as it concerns myself, we'll talk about my experiences where, you know, belief has come into play and where belief is necessary. Belief is very necessary. There are many things that exist in the natural world, and when I say natural world, I'm talking about uh, the spiritual, the supernatural side to the natural world that thrive on people, mortals, human beings, believing in them, that they exist in the natural world. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about all the things you read about in the storybooks and the fairy tales, fairies, um, ogres, goblins, dryads, naiads, spiritual creatures, elemental beings that exist both as in the physical world as well as in the spiritual world. But they can only exist in the spiritual world and not the physical world unless someone believes in them, unless they have belief in them. For example, if you look back at the back in the pre-Christian days with the tribes of the Celtic tribes that were in and around, you know, England, parts of Europe, that you encountered the Celtic tribes, which I include the Pictish tribes, the Picts, into that as well. That they believed and worshipped the forest gods, the spirits and the entities that existed in the forest. They believed in them because they had seen them, they had felt them, they had heard them, they had tasted them in one form or another, either seeing them physically as the embodiment of what that forest god was, or they had experienced some of the workings of that forest god, some of the benefits that they had to offer to the people who had belief in them at the time. And I see there's a few people coming and going. If you have any questions or want to say hi, feel free to say hi or have any questions about what I'm talking about. I may have to cut this short anyway tonight because I feel kind of like crap. So I might have to do a part 2 on belief. Hey. Hey, Pants Ninja. Long time no see. It's good seeing you. Now with the Celts, and with the Pictish tribes, Still breathing, dude. Still breathing. Sometimes with assistance, but I'm still breathing. Speaking of which, these beings existed because they had mortal worshippers, people who had belief in them, just not a mental sort of state of mind, just not a faith, a mental state of mind. They had a physical belief that they existed. Thus, they were able to manifest physically in our world and not just exist as a spiritual being, but exist as a physical being as well. They could make themselves known and make themselves be seen, and be felt by those who had faith in them, those who worshiped them. Unfortunately, with the advent of Christianity, the Christian missionaries figured out very quickly when they were spreading out across the continent and across Europe and going to the lands that did not that were not Christian lands. They had already learned very quickly this lesson that these tribes of people that they encountered, these entities and gods and spirits that they worshipped, only had were in existence because they had belief in them. So what do you do to sway them over to your side? Is convince them that they don't exist. To convince these tribes, these people, these pagans, that they are demons, that they're things of evil, and that the Christian God was the one true God. And then incorporating parts of this faith and this religion into their own in a way to erase the names of these spirits and these entities, these forest gods, out of existence. And in doing so, they removed them from the physical world. As soon as these Pictish tribes and these Celtic tribes stopped believing in them and stopped speaking their names, they ceased to exist. These There are a lot of things, and unfortunately, that's happened in a lot of belief systems and faiths through the centuries. That other faiths would move in, other missionaries from other faiths would move in and usurp the belief system that they had, that these people had, knowing good and well as soon as they usurped that belief system, these people stopped believing in whatever it was they were believing in, that they would cease to exist. And they'd be able to supplant it with their own beliefs, thus making the spiritual side of their world, which in this case we're talking about Christ, the angels, God, and everything in between. And we're just not talking about this. We're also talking about Judaism. We're talking about Hinduism, the Muslim faith. There's a lot of this that they would go in and supplant other religions with their own religion. And when they brought more worshipers in, when they brought more people who believed in what they believed in, um, the entity that they worshipped and had their own belief in and their own faith in became stronger as the others grew weaker. Um, this is a good one. You feel if anybody wants to use this, this next line, make sure you give me credit for it. Um, think of it more as religious Darwinism or metaphysical Darwinism. You know, the strong shall always survive. The strongest will survive. The weakest shall wither. And unfortunately, that's happened throughout the years. Um, but before I stray too much off course, which I have a habit of doing. If there's anybody in the chat room who wants to shout out, feel free to. I'm more than happy to shout back to you. I'm happy that anybody would pop in and want to listen to me ramble for a few minutes about something I hold near and dear. Because it looks like a few more people are popping in as we speak. Well, I'm glad you're still here, Pants Ninja. I'm glad. I'm so glad you're still here. Now, with that said, let's move more to present day belief systems because and I'm gonna just say this on the side. I believe that we're currently undergoing a metaphysical grand awakening. Hey, Papa Joey! Holy crap, dude! I didn't know you were there. Listen to me ramble. I'm glad to see you're here, dude. I have not been smoking anything, just to let everybody know before I continue this conversation. My eyes are naturally red now, apparently. And yes, I've got a TV playing in the background just so I can keep some illumination in the room. Some light illumination. Really bright light hurts my eyes like a gremlin. Okay, let's move forward into what I was just talking about. Uh, Metaphysical and paranormal and supernatural great awakening that's occurring now in society. And Papa Joey may agree with me or disagree with me about this when I'm going to start with the Great Awakening, talking about the number of people who are banding together and going out and quote unquote hunting ghosts and trying to find proof of the supernatural and the afterlife and trying to find proof of the paranormal in general. Um, you can't help but if you're going out to quote unquote hunt ghosts at a location that is known to be haunted or known to have activity in it, you can't help but go in with a certain set of expectations, a certain set of beliefs as you go into the situation. Um, you may be a true believer and you're going in, hoping that you're going to see tables and chairs fly about your head and, ghosts wailing at every corner. Um, or you may go in and you may be a complete skeptic and you're not expecting anything to happen whatsoever. You're there to look at the camera at the end of the night and go, see, I told you so. There's no such thing as the afterlife and there's no such thing as ghosts. This place is not haunted. Um, I'll be honest with you, I've never encountered anybody who did not fall into one of those two categories. I always hear, oh, I have an open mind. Um, but they literally will curl up in a ball and cry if nothing happens. Or cry sour grapes if if nothing happens, or any of the above. I don't know where I was going with that, but I've never had anybody go in and go, well, something might happen, but something might not happen. Um, you go in with a certain set of beliefs, and you have to understand in the paranormal world and the supernatural world, um, and like I said earlier about the Celtic gods, they could only manifest in our world, in the physical world, and present themselves to these tribes because they had the energy that came from their followers who believed in them. I have Pants Ninja, just to pause really quick, dude. I have been to so many. Um, when I used to be a traveler and I was trying to find myself, I went to many places that were supposedly haunted, and they weren't. They were either a local tourist trap or some legendary location just to bring in people and to bring in money. It was some kind of, bus stop cash cow, um, which I always found interesting. But we'll get back to some of my bullshit in a second that's happened to me. Dude, Gettysburg is, I'm going to say this and it's going to piss off a lot of people. Gettysburg is overrated. It is very, very overrated and overhyped. Okay, you're gonna get me off on a tangent about places like Gettysburg. If you really want to go to if you want to go to haunted battlefields, Civil War battlefields, you need to find the ones that are truly out of the way where skirmishes and things happened. Like here in Virginia, if you go down towards Rice, Virginia, my family owns a farm in Rice, Virginia. Well, I own a farm in Rice, Virginia, farmland. And not far from it is down the road, down 360, as a matter of fact, Highway 360, is Sailors Creek Battlefield, which not a lot of people have heard of. But there's a house there called Hillsman's House, and it was used as it was a very little bloody battle that was fought there. Um, and Hillsman's House was a farmhouse that was converted into a hospital, a field hospital. And you can't imagine the number of amputations that took place here at the time. And they actually took all the body parts they cut off and they threw them down the dry well that was in the backyard back there. Now that's a fact. It's the stuff's been they've have found bones down there and everything else down there. And you're talking about a scary ass haunted location that you never want to be at after dark. That Sailors Creek battlefield at Hillsman's House. It'll fucking terrify you. If you're not a believer when you walk in there, you will be when you leave. Because something is going to make you shit your pants when you're there. Trust me, that place is utterly and completely terrifying. Okay, I've gotten off track. But I have given you a good location to go to if you're ever in the area. You need to go Southside Virginia, Sailors Creek Battlefield. I think it's on the National Registry. If I ever get mobile enough again to be able to get out to Sailors Creek, I'll go out there and do a quick walkthrough so people can get an idea of what that place looks like. Because it's scary as shit during the day, and it's utterly terrifying at night. Completely terrifying at night. Um, I was a drunk little hoodlum back in the day when I first encountered the place, but again, that's a different story for another day. Let's talk about ghost hunters going to either prove or disprove a haunting, and what they go in with their beliefs and what they believe in at the time. A lot of energies, whether they're coherent energies, whether they're intelligent energies, and I'm talking about spirits and non-human spirits. That is true. That is true. And I think you'll enjoy this, Papa Joy, with what I'm about to say with that. Um, Ghost encounters and spiritual encounters, and I'm making a difference between the two because I think a lot of people, when they go into a haunting or go into a haunted location that's truly haunted, um, they automatically assume, based either on legend or the local legends or the stories surrounding the place, that they're encountering spirits of the once human. And I mean people who died, and they either left an intelligent spirit behind. Damn, sorry, I'm cold. I'm pulling a blanket around me. They left an intelligent spirit behind, or they left an echo of what they were behind, a shell of what they were behind. That's not intelligent, but it repeats itself over and over and over again as an after image with the energy that was left behind. But it's not intelligent. It will never communicate with you intelligently. And then there are the spirits that never were human. Now, I know what you're thinking. Demon. Because demons were never human. For those who know me know that I think demons are bullshit. And that everybody screams there's a demon whenever they encounter something they think is hostile. But please believe me, there's a lot of things in the spirit world that are not human, that are hostile as fuck, but they are not close to being a demonic entity. They're just assholes. Whether they be once human or they were never human, they were not demonic. Word is used too fucking often. Um, and it belittles what true evil is. You know, it strengthens it it dilutes the belief in true evil, thus making true evil stronger. Oh, there's that word belief again. There's that word belief again. Like I said, there's a lot of entities out there, whether they were once human or not, who require belief to be able to manifest themselves in our world. Belief from us is energy, and it's released as energy, whether you want to consider it psychic energy or, your aura or some strange, Tesla energy that leaves the top of your head that they can feed off of, that they can manifest themselves with. Um, and it's your belief, or your belief is what they're feeding off of when you go in there, and it gives them the ability to manifest themselves and show themselves. Yes, we are on the same page as that topic. I get really crazy with Papa Joey. Papa Joey has a good point. I get really crazy whenever I start talking about demons, and at some point I'm going to get a lot of hate for a topic that, if I have time to talk about on a different live stream, it's going to be about angels and them not existing. Oops, said that out loud. But I don't want to piss everybody off and make you leave. But when you go to a haunted location and people say, "Oh, this was Jebediah, who was a mass murderer, and he's haunting this house," and, "Oh, he just touched me." The thing is, I'm going to piss everybody off at some point. Um, you've actually had me talk about angels once on your show, dude. And I don't think it went very well. Oh, Pants Ninja. I don't care about pissing people off. Um, Usually, if you piss off people too much, they attack your credibility, and I'm not that kind of person. I don't attack anyone's credibility or belief systems whatsoever, and I don't hold up well to other people assaulting mine. I get I try to keep it calm and level-headed, but I can get rather insane when it comes to me personally. People automatically assume, like I said, if great uncle Jebediah, "Oh no, he's here touching me. He's touching the back of my neck. Can you speak to us, Jebediah?" And you hear a ghostly EVP saying, "I'm here, I'm here." What the hell makes you think that that's Uncle Jebediah? Because you want to believe that it was Uncle Jebediah, so it's going to behave like great Uncle Jebediah was. But when it comes down to it, there's a good chance that it's not great Uncle Jebediah, that it's some other spiritual manifestation, whether it's something from the world of the Fae, some elemental spirit, some wood spirit that has gone by, that's some interdimensional spiritual entity that's walking through has felt the power of your belief looking for Uncle Jebediah, and they're coming in for a quick snack on your belief, that energy that you're giving off. And they're coming in to enjoy it. There's no way to prove or disprove that you're talking to great Uncle Jebediah or freaking wood spirit. That is true. That is what you think is what you become. And these critters will manifest themselves. Now, when people get video evidence of shadow people, of, full torso apparitions. Hey, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? Bigfoot Nation. Bigfoot or not. I'm sorry, I can't read really well. I don't have my contacts in because it gives us really horrible glare. Well, my eyes are bad anyway, but it gives a horrible glare when I'm looking into the camera. But these things depend on your belief to be able to manifest. I'm not, and I will say this: they actually sit in the peripheral of the living world, of the physical and mortal world. They exist in the shadows between the world, waiting for someone to believe in them again, so they can walk into the room. Now, not all of them are as honest and want you to call their name. Like I said, the fake Uncle Jebediah. They're the slippier and more oily spirits out there who, like I said, are looking for a quick happy meal and for a reason to cause a little bit of havoc in the physical world. So they will, when you call out Uncle Jebediah, can you come and use my energy? And I love hearing this when I watch these shows, or when I'm out with a paranormal investigation team, and the idiots will hold their hands up and they'll go, use my energy to communicate with us, use my energy to manifest with us. You fucking idiot. You might as well wrap yourself up in a tortilla, and put some hot sauce on you and let them eat you, because you just gave whatever it is that's manifesting there full reign to feed off of you. And like I said, it may not be Uncle Jebediah. It might be a really pissed off wind spirit who wants to smack someone around. It's aggressive. It's not friendly or mischievous. It's just aggressive. But you just gave that thing permission to come in there and feed off of you and manifest into the physical world because you believe it's Uncle Jebediah, and you believe that if it feeds off of you, it will appear and apparently do absolutely nothing to you. You are an idiot if you believe it's not there to do something to you. And that's why you'll see videos and you'll see television shows is where they're touched, quote unquote, scratched by something, and they'll scream like a bunch of little green idiots and go running out of the room or out of the building or out of the forest. Again, belief in the paranormal world and in the parapsychology world is can be a very dangerous thing. You want to believe in something so bad that you invite it to damage you. You invite it to hurt you, um, because you want it to be so bad that it manifests itself. And 9 times out of 10, it's not exactly what it was that you wanted it to be. But in your head, you're always going to believe it was Uncle Jebediah. You're going to go on YouTube and swear up and down that it was Uncle Jebediah. Or that it was. I said that. Don't get me started about orbs, because orbs don't exist. That'll be a separate video as well to piss everybody off with. I've never seen a spirit that could manifest itself into a perfect shape of a ball and float around. They're usually a little bit more nebulous than that. I mean, why would you turn into a ball? Why don't you turn into a cube or a pyramid or a cone? Why is it always an orb? Exactly. But once again, I digress. And I know I start going into the darker. Phantasm. That is true. There were flying orbs there. Thank you for saying that because I believe more in the phantasm orbs and the tall and Angus Scrimm's tall man than I do in spiritual orbs that float around like little bits of dust, which is what they are, or bugs. Oh God, dude, you've got me so off topic. My brain is out of my head right now. I had so much planned in my head, and it just blew me right out of the water. Um, I do appreciate that so much, dude. Okay, get back on topic. I said earlier that I believe that that we're in another great awakening spiritually and metaphysically, paranormally, and supernaturally, and all of the above. That people are going out looking. Well, it's two things. It has been a long time since the the spirit world, and I'm not just talking about ghosts. I'm talking about um, the place between places. That things that live slightly out of phase to our world that can only interact with it because someone believes enough in them to where they can use that energy to manifest themselves. Oh shit. That is true. You get lots of little round bubbly orbs and that shit. At least you can drink them. I wouldn't try to inhale any of the ones that are floating around on people's cameras and they scream, there was an orb. Um, did you see that orb? It floated right through me. No, boo boo. That was a moth and it stuck to your hat. There's a difference. Oh, God. But it was an orb. It was a spirit. It was coming through to me. I called it. It came to my hand. No, that was a piece of dust or a piece of dandruff that came off a boo boo kitty standing beside you and floated over to your hand. Okay, I'm gonna stop hating on orbs for a second. Um, when we as a people stop believing in something that is spiritual in its makeup, when enough people stop believing in it, it stops existing. It no longer exists or gets so weak, or it becomes so weak that it can't interact with our world at all whatsoever. And it is my belief, if you haven't noticed, there's been, within the last 10 years, there's been a lot more people having paranormal, actual, legit paranormal encounters and supernatural encounters. Um, and I have to separate the two, the supernatural from the paranormal. In my mind, there are two different things. The supernatural world is literally more magical and eldritch. The paranormal world deals more with, the spiritual world interacting with the physical world. If you're wondering why I keep separating the two, that's the reason why I keep separating the two. In the metaphysical world, which is um, pure spirit and mind, and soul, if you want to throw that in on the mix too. That should get me I should get some torches and pitchforks sent to my farm very quickly for saying that. Um, there has been a rise in these encounters, both supernaturally and paranormally. Legitimate encounters. When I say paranormally, I don't just mean ghosts. I'm talking about cryptids, um, true monsters. Um, God knows even tulpas, for crying out loud. Tulpas are beginning to, with the advent of the internet, tulpas are beginning to manifest more and more than they have in the last 100 years. We're getting to see more of those. Um, if anybody's, for those who are not aware of what the term tulpa, what a tulpa is, um, tulpas are Tibetan spirit forms. Well, they were originally Tibetan spirit forms. It's a tulpa is something that's created from belief. It's tulpas, and oh, that's a really good. Since we're on the topic of belief, it's when enough people believe in something that has never existed before, and enough people believe in it, and it becomes real, manifests in our reality. Um, Whether it's a spirit or a physical being. There was actually an experiment done, and God, I can't think of when it was done. I think it was this. It was called the Johnny or something experiment, where a group of people got together. Um, Parapsychologists or metaphysicists got together, and they created a ghost in their minds, a spirit. They named it, and every day they tried to contact it and ask it questions. They made this whole mythology up about it. All these people did, and they kept believing it and asking it questions until one day it started answering their questions through a spirit board and through EVPs. So they manifested a spirit that had never existed before, a ghost that had never existed before, except for in their minds. But enough people truly believed in it to where it came into being. And we're starting to see that with more and more tulpas with the advent of the internet. Um, we have take for example the various creepypastas that were quite popular, God, 5, 10 years ago, and they're still popular to some people. That they circulated around the internet enough to where people started believing in them, and enough people believed in it to where they were able to manifest, and people start actually seeing them and videoing them and recording them and paying witness to them in real life in our reality. For example, Slender Man. He started off as a story, but now people are starting to see Slender Man in the woods. Enough people have started believing in him to where it's manifesting and it's behaving the way everybody believes it should behave. And it hasn't disappeared yet because everybody still believes him, still talks about him on the internet. Another one is now, this is my own term. So, ooh, you're right. Black-eyed kids are another type of tulpa I believe in as well. Enough people believe in the black-eyed kids, as well as in shadow people too, if you think about that. Enough people believed in them and told stories about them. And it's true with urban legends too, that they started manifesting. Because the black-eyed kids used to be the Lover's Lane monsters. You take your girlfriend out and talk about the black-eyed children, so and so got killed out here and by the black-eyed kids, or they disappeared from the black-eyed children. And then eventually the black-eyed children started manifesting and started terrorizing the way the stories told that they were supposed to act. They were believed to act. That was a good one, Papa Joey. Thank you for that. That was a really good one. Another one would be very famous, and I'm going to use a term which I don't think I've ever heard anybody else use, but I've used it quite a bit. It's called a pseudo-cryptid, which pertains to that these things are manifestations of the group consciousness instead of being actual creatures that exist both in the natural and unnatural world. Like take for Bigfoot, for example, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, um, the Alma, whatever you want to call it. I believe it's a physical creature that exists both in the spiritual world, interdimensionally, and in our world. And that it exists in it exists in its own ecosystem. It breeds. It has little baby big feet. You know. Yeah, I know I said big feet. But then you talk about the pseudo cryptids. And there are three that pop in my mind right now when I want to talk about pseudocryptids. These are things that never existed before until people started believing in them, and now they exist. Goat Man, Bunny Man, and the Rake. And you might want to even, I wouldn't put the Slender Man in that thing, because that's more of a boogeyman that's manifested in our world. Um, that's manifested as in our world as a tulpa as well, but that's completely, I believe, completely different. People encounter the bunny man, they encounter the rake, um, and they encounter the goat man. These started off as stories. These started off as, these stories started spreading. They started spreading by word of mouth. They started spreading through the printed word, and then they started spreading um, through the internet. And eventually, enough people believed in them that this belief, this energy from this belief, um, caused them to come to life, caused them to manifest. And it's this continued belief is why people are still encountering these creatures and continuing to see these creatures and interact with these creatures physically, mentally, and emotionally. It all comes down to what you believe and what you're walking into the situation with your belief. Um, and what do you guys think about that? If there's anybody in the room, then I will continue. Now let's talk about Eileen. I know I veered off talking about tulpas, but again, that's part of this paranormal, metaphysical great awakening. Dude, but feel free to ask questions, Pants Ninja. Feel free to chime in. You don't have to be knowledgeable. Shit knows there's still stuff that I'm learning too and still encountering. Still stuff that goes bump in the night that I go out there. I can't look in my great big black book of bad things and figure out what the fuck it is. I still have to research, and sometimes I still don't know what the fuck it is. I just know it's interesting or scary or batshit crazy. Oh, dude, if you could only be inside my twisted little mind to see where, how my belief system is set up, it can be rather mind blowing and interesting. But thank you for keeping an open mind, guys, and being in the room and listening to this. With that said, talking about the Great Awakening again, um, the tulpas are one aspect of this, but I believe that now I'm gonna, I have to give credit when I'm about to quote from a movie, which I love this quote. It's from Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. It's one of my favorite quotes in the world, but it sums up with what I'm about to talk about. It sums up perfectly what I'm about to talk about. Um, when the love Evil Dead 2. There is a book, but that's for a different day to talk about. I have to thank my wife for helping to push the whole book situation. She's pretty awesome like that. One of my favorite lines was when the I can't think of the character's names when I'm talking about it, but the boyfriend who came in with the lady whose parents were had the cabin. He gets possessed by one of the deadites, and he flies up in the air, and he's beside the old witch lady that's in the basement, and he says, "We are the things that were and shall be again." I don't know what ass they pulled that line at when they did that movie, but that line it sums up perfectly what I believe what's going on right now in the spiritual in the spirit world, in the paranormal world and supernatural world. There are things that have been waiting. Um, that for decades, God knows, centuries, a millennium, for whatever reason, people stopped believing in them. So they lost their foothold in our world, and they just sat idly by and, in the spirit world, waiting for the opportunity to be relevant in our world again, to find people who believed in them. They were waiting for that spark. They were waiting for somebody to say their name, or say a prayer in their name, or light a candle in their name, to be able to get a foothold and begin to manifest in our world again. And I believe right now, we're starting to see that, because you have to admit, guys, um, for the last 10, 20 years, the world's been just in flux. It's been chaos, wars, diseases, you know, the inhumanity, that you have whole generations of people that are looking for something to believe in. And there are the old spirits, the old things that were and who want to be again, um, are taking advantage of that. And they're looking to help people fill that void in their life that people are looking for. They're looking for something to believe in, besides themselves and besides the misery of the world that they're living in right now. I'm not saying that these things that are waiting for someone to believe in them again are bad. Some of them are terrible, horrible things that want to manifest themselves again. And they are things that are beautiful and helpful that want to manifest themselves again in our world. Just waiting for somebody to say their name properly, which one day, which I might take a minute or two now that I look at the time, I might take a minute or two to talk about names. Um, to have the name of something gives you power over it. To have a name that you do not share gives you power, period. Like, if me, I have 4 names. I have my first name, 2 middle names, and a last name. If I was talking to some of the more shadier spirits that exist in this world, um, and I wanted information from them, they may ask, for my name. Because again, names are power. It gives them a foothold in our world. It sets up a link between you and them, that they can step into your world, and they can find other people to believe in them and other followers, and again, gain strength that way and be able to appear in our world again. But I had to learn the hard way, which I will tell that story one day, about how important names are, especially your personal name too, and that you shouldn't be going around telling everybody on God's green earth what your name is, because some people can use that against you. In the world in the supernatural and paranormal world, they can use that against you, and in the metaphysical world. Again, it was my naivete that led me down that turbulent realization. um, but when it comes again to the going back to the paranormal researcher, or the paranormal investigator, or the cryptid hunter, or the monster hunters that are out there, or even the psychic mediums, because you have to remember, psychic mediums, or a medium, or a psychic in any sense of the word, or a psychic intuitive, or a medium, or anybody who claims to be able to sense the past, present, or even the future, in the spiritual world, or be able to communicate with both human and inhuman spirits, or once human spirits. Um, or be able to channel spirits through their bodies, which is what a true medium, and the fundamental thing is, they do what they do based on their belief that they're doing it, and that they can do it. whether it's true talent or not. Because again, I have to go back and tell you, I have to go back and say, again, there's a lot of spiritual entities, both once human and never human, that crave the attention. And if somebody wants to believe that, that you are a particular spirit that can speak to them, I'm really glad you figured that one out, Papa Joey. Just to let you know, there's a story attached to that, as it is with everything in my life when it comes to my little girl, my little ghost girl, my little spirit guide. Um, Again, she doesn't have a name because, like you just said, names construe will give you knowing something's name gives you power over it. It gives you strength over it, and actually diminishes the ones whose name. The more you speak its name, the more power you can have over it. That's if it told you its name and it was being honest. I'm not saying that she's not honest. She's always been nothing but honest with me. But there are shadier things in this world that are not that honest or friendly. But that's another story. God, I should have named my book that. That's another story. I say it enough. But when you're talking about psychic mediums and psychics in general, those who claim they can channel spirits, um, again, past, present, and future, um, and anything they can do, like psychometry and things like that, that allow them to connect to the spirit world, they do so based on belief. A belief in not only themselves, but a belief that there are things right outside their field of vision that they can touch with their mind and their body. And again, we're talking about things that are not necessarily friendly, but they want the attention. And the only way they can make themselves known is because they're looking for somebody who wants to believe in them. So they make themselves known. They feed off of that energy. And they tell the psychic, the medium, what they want to hear, what they feel they should know, whether it's true or not. Um, like if again, go back to Uncle Jebediah. If you go to Uncle Jebediah and you know, Uncle Jebediah, tell us how you died. What happened here? Well, it might not be Uncle Jebediah. It might be Uncle Renfro that's wants the attention, is looking for your belief to so it can manifest and interact with you for just a few moments, just for shits and giggles. And it might just feed you the biggest line of bullshit because you're giving attention to him. You're believing in him, giving him the attention he needs to stay manifested in this world. And then once you stop asking questions, you stop believing and it severs that connection. And he has to wait for the next person to come along to, you know, light his light bulb for him. I'm not saying that all psychic mediums and all mediums are not, they really believe that they're communicating um, with the spirits that they want to communicate with. But it's been my experience that it's only 10% true of the time. The other 90% of the time, they're talking to something else. Something that is not lying, but it's not telling the truth at the same time about what it is. Experience. Now, I have had, again, been in a room with psychics and mediums and psychic mediums the 10% of the time to where they've actually made contact with the proper, spirit, whether it be once human or not. Um, and we were able to communicate with it or channel it through them. Um, but it takes a great deal of experience to be able to figure out if you're dealing with a spiritual bullshitter or not. And then if you know you're dealing with a spiritual bullshitter, it's up to you whether to continue to let it bullshit you and you keep believing in it and giving it your power and giving it strength, or you sever the cord and let the bullshitter wither and disappear and don't give him attention anymore. I'll tell you what, guys, it's been about an hour since I've been on. I think I'm going to make it, this is going to be a two-part conversation. So I'm going to call it for the night on this one. Again, we'll just call this one part one to belief. um, and I'll do part two in the near future. And in between, hopefully, I'll be able to share a few more stories of the supernatural and the macabre with everybody. Again, if anybody wants to contact me, you can do so in the comments on YouTube, or you can go to, I'm under Voodoo Man 3 on Twitter. I wish everybody a good night. If you want to have a good time or hear me talk a lot of shit during the day, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, follow me on YouTube. You can like or dislike this. You can leave negative, positive comments. It doesn't matter. Leave negative comments. I can only grow from that. Leave positive comments. Hey, you're just stroking my ego, so it makes me feel good. But have a good night, everyone. Until you tune in to watch me again.